Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Tastic channel on YouTube. I think we might be live streaming to Twitch and Facebook as well. I'm not 100% sure, I didn't check. No worries. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. Something we've never done before. One of the biggest compliments I get, it's maybe my niche, I don't know, but people understand my accent very well. Now I'm not mic'd up, so we're free to air with the microphone on the camera, and we hope that the traffic noise behind us will be good with us tonight, but there are a few noisy vehicles about, so we'll just pause as we do this. So tonight I'm going to be giving you a reading. This is part one actually, I forgot to put that in the title, part one of 3. I have a small book here. It's about 33 pages long, and it says at the end of the last page, to be continued. So it'd be interesting if there's a follow-on to this. Disclaimer before we continue. I'm literally going to be reading from a small book. What is your bargirl up to today? Find out the truth about your Thai bar girlfriend while you're at home, by John Balmer. Maybe that's him there. More on him later. I think we've got a photograph on the back cover of his exploits. Hello from Finland. So what I will do, I will not address the chat until I finish the first 10 pages. So it's 3 parts. Now I'll do 10 pages. I'm not sure how long it will take me to read them to you. So it's a little different style of video. I just thought I'd give it a try. I don't know who. So a couple of disclaimers. One, forgive me if I have to pause and work out what he actually means and pronounce the words correctly from the book. I don't believe it's been proofread, and if it has, then maybe the person that did proofread it should be sacked, or let's give them the opportunity to get more training on how to proofread, because I've read a few pages already and I'm like, okay. So let's dive right in. So what is your bargirl up today? So the second disclaimer is, whatever I'm reading from here is literally from somebody else's writing and experiences, from what I gather from it, and I express no endorsement or views upon it. Simply a reading, so we can go through the chat at the end of the reading of 10 pages, the first 10 pages, and feel free to make comments. Feel free to make comments in the comment section after the video live stream is finished. So as I say, this is what is your bargirl up to today? And this is a reading from a book by John Balmer. So page 1 starts as follows. First of all, I must state the fact that I know several guys who have former bargirls as wives, and the ladies are exceptionally good wives. They cook, they clean meticulously, they serve their husband, and they put out an equitable effort to help their husbands in day-to-day life. They go to school to improve their English, and they complete their coursework for their level at a reasonable rate. They are full partners in a relationship, dedicated to their partners and happy to live a life in their partner's country, away from home and their family, friends and other fellow bar girls. However, these are the exceptions to the rule. Far more commonly, a nice guy puts in all the effort and money and gets burned in the end by an ungrateful and lazy bum of a lady who carelessly does things to piss off their husband and boyfriend. For example, neglectful of his needs and or blows money despite budget arguments and or is unfaithful. When it comes time to part ways, she takes all she can and makes his life miserable. In a most ungrateful manner, she will tell him who she has fucked behind his back just to hurt him. She will make sure that she fucks all his friends so that he feels hurt and sometimes suicidal. Oh my goodness. Paragraph 3. Did you know that at least one person a week throws himself off a bridge, hotel, high-rise room, over the bridge in the airport, or from the balcony to the pool in the middle of the night? This is normally because they have been living in denial and came over to surprise their loving boyfriend, only to find that the girl is busy with someone else. Someone who is just as in love with her as you are. Someone has been sending her money for many years. This money is coming from many different sources. American money, Australian money, euros, Japanese yen, Chinese, RMB. In fact, the bar girlfriend is not fussy where the money comes from, as long as it comes. When the boyfriend kills himself, the bar girlfriend cries all night. Not because she will miss what's his name, but because she will have to find a replacement so she can keep herself in the lifestyle she is and has become accustomed to. When you're a guy in Thailand who starts talking with prostitutes, you find a few who say clearly that they do not want to do what they are doing, but they have no money, no skill and few alternatives. I didn't finish school, and if I don't have a high school diploma, I cannot get a job. If I cannot get a job, I will not be able to make money to send to my mummy and daddy. If I can't send money to mummy and daddy, they can't look after my children. I can't eat, so I starve. Or I can fuck lots of men and get money that way. You want to help? Feeling that they've just had bad luck in life. Many of these ladies are quite pleasant and calm. Others have a lot of energy and hustle at what they do. Some even have considerable educations, for example, are attending the university, supporting themselves by working on men at discos. I have met many of these girls in the past, but as I am a married man, they are only passing friends who I have chatted to. They have some very interesting stories. I have yet to meet a bar girlfriend who doesn't lie with every second word. They will like when the truth will do. I'm an entrepreneur with 36 years of continuous self-employment and employing people. I can always find something profitable for people to do in order to sustain themselves in society, including tithes from top to bottom. However, after several attempts at hiring university-level ladies who asked me to hire them out of prostitution and other type that recently emerged, the freelancer down the skills scale, and anything from running messenger errands around town, low education, to answering the phone and making simple phone calls, medium education, to simple computer skills, university level. I now must agree with my predecessors in this regard. You will almost surely get burned. Some of these girls are extremely intelligent. In fact, all of them are. I knew a girl, let's call her Mai, who had a friend who went to live in Vietnam to try and find a lucky man who would add to her monthly income. new meat. She got into a spot of trouble with the Vietnamese police and was told that she could not stay in Vietnam and had to go home. She was locked in a jail and only allowed one phone call. She explained to the police that she didn't have a ticket to go home. The police told her she had 24 hours to get one and only allowed one phone call, no internet and no help from the police. She called her friend May and asked if she would buy her a ticket back to Thailand. She told May that her mother would send her the money to pay for the ticket, and if she didn't help she would never be allowed out of jail. May paid for the ticket, and the mother paid her 3 times the cost of the ticket. May saw this as a great business idea and put the word out that she would get people out of Vietnam, Hong Kong, Singapore, Mumbai, etc. After a month, May was selling 15 tickets a day and making more money than she ever made in a bar. No bar boyfriends for May. The following describes some of my experiences. That's the author of this book. I have had 0% success with hiring ladies of the night who ask for and agree to a job. Though admittedly it's a sample of less than 10, and I gave up a long time ago in view of alternative sources of hiring such as a word of mouth in my Thai communities. However, I know a lot of good guys who have tried the same thing. The success of my associates is also pretty close to 0. We always offer them more money than what other Thais are eager to work for. Wage levels and job descriptions that many self-disciplined Thais would consider fortunate to get. However, the freelance prostitutes fail to be nearly as reliable or do acceptable quality of service. Fortunately, we usually don't even have to fire them. They just don't show up for work after a while. That is, they don't show up at the office, but they do show up at the discos again and make easy money night after night. In considering saving a prostitute, guys lower their expectations for the lady's standard of work and professionality and dramatically up the salary and fringe benefits. They all own land in their hometown and are all building houses, beautiful houses, and all they have to do is have sex with a sexy fat man. I'm sure that there are some prostitutes out there who would do a job even given the opportunity and be very appreciative. However, they are very small percentage, and I have met a few of them here in all my years here. Many of these girls buy and sell clothes and buy them from the market stall and sell them to the girls who live and work in the bars. The bar girls have more money, so they don't bother with the market. Why do the market when the market will come to the bar every night? The dresses are only making the girls a few baht, maybe 20 baht each. However, they sell enough to stop them having to have sex with a lovely farang with a pot belly and a ponytail. The bar girlfriend from a go-go bar. If you want to know why the go-go bars are so strict and cruel, by deducting a baht per minute for late ladies and strict in enforcing that rule, this is why. As bar owners have told me, it's the only way to get them to work on time. Some companies have adopted this policy for professional employees too. First, they usually don't show up for work on time, if at all. Secondly, if they do show up, then they aren't as good as a worker as others, and often do careless work. You care for them, but they don't care much for your business and your clients. Why should they care anymore? In the end, you have wasted effort, money and precious time. Your employees are laughing at you, the boss for being a stupid farang, but some of them also admittedly learn to be less full-heartedly themselves. Some things you expected to get done in your business did not. Fortunately, thanks to some of my predecessors sharing their wisdom with me, as I am sharing my experiences with you, I myself did not lose heavily. However, I know guys who try to set up their former prostitute girlfriend in a business of their own and lost a lot of money. Some have been successful, but they are just a very small percentage, the exceptions to the rule. Far more commonly, the lady neglects to do what she says, spends the money irresponsibly, like there's no tomorrow, and sometimes outright scams the guy. Listen to these guys, make up your own mind, but do listen and look for the warning signs. Hearing many of their stories, I quickly see their mistakes from the start and excuse them for being new to Thailand. On the other hand, I learned some painful lessons several times over in my 15 years here. Each time I raise my threshold for helping people. I really don't like to be negative, and I hope that my experience was unlucky, but let me share with you my experiences. First of all, unlike some other foreigners, I don't tell ladies what they should do or lead ladies too much. I don't do that with anyone. For example, when I interview people for a job, I must see initiative from them, and I hire only those who express initiative. I am guilty of lowering my standards when it comes to helping a lady get off the street. I have also been wrong to believe that they would appreciate it and try to help me back. The same goes for some of my friends. Let's go through some of our experiences. I've changed the names to protect the not so innocent. Platt. Platt was intelligent, street smart, and had a lot of energy. She could speak English well and could read and write it fairly well also. She could do email. Platt hung out at the open-air beer bars, but I never saw her flirting with a man. She talked more with other women, a joker, and just watched people coming and going with no interaction with men. She was a friend who was somewhat interesting to talk to, but not someone to have a sexual relationship with, and I made it clear that I did not have sexual interest in her. She was quite pretty nonetheless, but not my type. She expressed that she didn't like going with men, but she could not do a job to make enough money to support herself, her son, foreign father, long gone, and she hated him, and crippled father, sick buffalo or grandma. She asked about me, and I explained my business with her. She expressed interest in helping me, including stating some solutions to some problems I had. I was fairly impressed. She seemed perfect for a particular role. I just had street errands for her to do, for starters, as her first test, but she was happy with that, and she needed a financial break. She had sold her mobile for needed cash, but had an active SIM card, so I gave her my old mobile phone that I had, and since she had only 78 baht credit, I also got a 300 baht recharge card to her SIM, and gave her a little bit of cash to eat and general expenses for several days. I figured it would just one or day to test her. I told her to wait for my calls. I immediately sent her an SMS on her way home that night with a concrete task for the next day. That next day, at the end of the day when I had some time, I called her to find out how she'd done. She hadn't done the task. She didn't want to talk about the SMS. She just wanted to meet me to talk more about the possibility of her working for me. What did she do that day? She didn't have anything to report, and pressing the matter, I found that she had just sat around at home. I sensed that she wanted to meet just to pressure me face to face for more money. I've heard this before. Nonetheless, I had already invested too much of my own time thinking about her, and wanted some answers to some questions about her past. I jotted them down on a pad, preparing for an interview. I had nothing to lose, and if the interview went bad and she just asked for money, then I'd get my phone back. I decided to meet at a quiet place outside the bars, and stayed at a specific place halfway, carefully to pick a place where numerous air-conditioned buses go and there were nice coffee shops. It would be a 30-minute ride for her in traffic. However, then she complained about meeting me halfway. It was a cheap bus ride on a main route from her home, yet she complained about the taxi fare, and in tone like she was seeking excuses not to go. She wanted me to come all the way to her. Then, while I was talking, she just started yelling at someone else, not giving me her undivided attention. I felt disrespected, and in response my tone got more disciplinarian, stating to her that if she wanted to work with me, then she would need to be more professional. She lost her self-control and started yelling at me about how I was letting her down, and screamed "fuck you" twice in the phone and hung up. 10 minutes later, she called me, but I had moved back to working with my other employees and didn't bother to answer. Maybe her expressiveness is why her Farang boyfriend left her for her friend, and now ex-friend. I still feel sorry for her, but she had her chance with me and she blew it. There are a lot of other people in this world who I can give a chance to, and they are more sustainable, profitable and mutually beneficial. B was proper and strove to run her own business, selling nice clothes with ultimate ambition of exporting clothes and other labour-intensive things. She had nice styles herself, clearly an artistic sort. She also had a full high school education and had started at university but dropped out shortly thereafter. Her stated reason was lack of money. I had a client who was upgrading their CAD computers and had an idle stack of Pentium 386s and 14-inch monitors. This was many years ago. B had expressed interest in improving her computer, Windows, business software skills, so I thought one for the client for cheap, spent time reformatting and setting it up for her with good software, bought books for her, delivered it all, and helped her get started with some personal lessons. However, when I was gone, she did nothing, more than writing emails to guys. She made no progress whatsoever on our strategy. Whenever I'd stop by with cheerful expectations, I'd be disappointed to find her just sitting around watching trash TV. Checking the computer, she had only done emails, visited online games and other trash things. The only questions asked was how we could get the computer to play 3D video games. I discussed my issues gently, but she was just quiet and pleasant, always accommodating, and made plans for the next day, but never executed them. After a few weeks of that, I just dumped that project. Shortly after that, she was back onto the discos without money. The story of May. May was similar to B in stated aspirations. A friend of mine sent her to BCC, which is Business and Computers. Unfortunately, he had to push her out the door to get there on time, as she didn't watch the clock. When he wasn't there, she skipped classes also. Guys out of town get stories from the ladies that they are attending classes, but having a private investigator check up on them reveals that many do not, beg your pardon. In fact, some go back and get a partial refund of their tuition. Pim did more damage than any other Thai prostitute as regards to my willingness to try and help. Same story about how she felt very bad about what she had done and was doing, but needed the money. Pim was studying a difficult subject in university, was studious as I observed repeatedly, was oh so close to graduation, and some check-in revealed that her grades were fairly good. She was in fact a good student. I thought that if there was any prostitute who could help get out of business, then Pim was her. I went and paid her tuition for her, gave her some cash to get her by for a while, and by email gave her a list of phone calls to make to get information, which she could do at her own schedule. Unfortunately, the calls didn't get made. She would call me very sweetly when she needed more money, and the money seemed to go too quickly. I knew other students who stretched their money much further. Pim was just months from graduation, if She just passed her last and most difficult courses, and with her degree and grades she would immediately get a good paying job. With some excuses, I gave her a second chance. However, round 2 of this got a couple of business calls made, but then slacked off, not caring about my business. We're on the last page now, by the way. She was just another lady who was good at pleading for help, but was not willing to help me in return. Big talk, no implementation. Talk is easy. The next time Pim called, I specifically raised these principles with her. She said she was sorry, but I said I'm sorry too, and no salary until she does her work. I gave her another chance. When the work is completed satisfactorily, then the salary is waiting. Her response? A pleading but increasingly aggressive. Please don't do this to me. I have no money. What will I do now? Boo-hoo. Please not right now. The worst possible time. I have just 45 baht now and I was depending on you. I must finish my classes. Bit. Just a few hours before her call, a customer had called me to pay me 2,500 baht, which he owed me, but wanted me to pick it up again and sign a receipt with his accountant. I wasn't going to spend the time making a special trip, so I had made a someday when I'm in the area kind of arrangement. However, I called back and he agreed that this lady could pick up the money and sign for it. The office was right along an air-conditioned bus route from her Ramkhamhaeng apartment, maybe a 30-minute trip and 14 baht each way. I called her and told her that if she went to pick up the 2,500 baht, then she could keep it all, and she'd have enough money to get by a while longer until she could complete her other task I'd given her. She said okay, though not as happily as I expected. A few hours later I called the client, but he reported no sign of her, so I called her back. She hadn't gone, sounded lazy, and at the point she asked me to go get the money and bring it to her. After all, I had told her she could keep it. Whew. Wow, well that's the first installment of 3. Interesting. I'm questioning the author's... maybe we'll come back to that later. My feelings about him. So we will start at the bottom of page 10, perhaps tomorrow, where we start talking about non-prostitute employees. The difference between these ladies and the people I normally hire is literally like day and night, he says. So thank you for listening, guys and girls. As I say, none of these are my opinions or experiences, although I can empathise with both parties to a degree. We are doing a reading from What Is Your Bargirl Up To Today? Find out the truth about your Thai bar girlfriend while you're at home, by John Balmer. See you all tomorrow, if not before. Good night.